You are never alone. You are never alone. Just reach into your heart and Allah is always there. You are never alone. You are never alone. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is a new episode in Family Issues, and it's the sign of a new season. Congratulations and happy new Ramadan. This is the first episode in this happy and sacred month for Muslims and for all over the world and all the people. Hopefully in this month we can discuss issues that are specifically related to religious aspects, but from the psychological point of view, because this is the aim of this program. Our Family Issues program is the technical support unit for the family members, and me, Ihab Eid, is helping in this technical support. This is my shift, this is my program now, to mend or to modify any bad thing in the family. And I have to use this occasion, this very important occasion in our lives. Every year it comes once, Ramadan. This is a very important occasion and season for every father or caregiver to put his touches, specific touches, in the lives of his children and the lives of the family members. Everyone has to taste this specific or special type or unique type of flavor all over the year. First, let me give you our email in the program. This is familyissues@huda.tv. familyissues@huda.tv. As usual, we have to go around the family relations and the bonds between family members, what we call the psychodynamics. The psychodynamics, this is the bonds between every member and the other in the family, the father-child bond, the mother-father bond, the mother-child bond, the sibs bonds, or the brother and sis bonds. Actually today, to start with in Ramadan, we are going to tackle a very important issue and from a very unique angle. This important issue is what's called the spiritual aspect of our lives. And do our fathers care about this? And the special angle we are tackling this issue from is from the angle of the child. Therefore, the title of our episode today is, Where are you, Pa? Where are you, my father, from this? In a world where everything became, to a great extent, materialistic, financial, technological, high-tech, everything now is materialistic, up to the degree that some people, very materialistic people, or those following science to the end, say to everyone, I cannot believe you except if I can hold in my hand what you want to speak about. If I don't touch it, if I don't see it, if I don't hold it, then it's nothing. They do not believe in the other type of the world or the spiritual aspect of our lives. They do not believe in, for example, meditation and in pondering. They believe in materialistic things. So today we want every father and every mother to focus on how to train his son, to train his daughter, how to focus, but not in materialistic things as much as in spiritual things. And by the way, in the same time, we have to revise together some of the common pitfalls. Remember the episode before the last was about common pitfalls in fathers and mothers and caregivers towards their children. Today, we are also focusing on the bad points or the common mistakes commonly performed, or these errors commonly practiced by parents regarding the way they raise their children. So you can conclude from what I say now that in Ramadan, or in this episode specifically, we are mixing all the spiritual and all the other non-materialistic aspects of our sons or our children's life to revise together our performance. Is it good or bad? Okay, let me start by saying, on the lips of the child or by the tongue of the child, Papa, why, when you put the software in my head, you didn't put in your mind the spiritual aspect? Why all the time you are focusing on money, paying money on me, and all the time you are caring? I'm not refusing, or I'm not saying that you are not caring about me. No, I'm sure you are doing this. I'm not blaming you. But I'm just asking you a question. Papa, please focus with me this time. You are going to focus with me. You gave me so many things. You gave me toys. You bought to me clothes. You gave me a good room with a bed and a desk and everything. You let me visit so many of the sightseeings that are good. You sometimes take me to travel outside our city. You are caring all the time about my hobbies, my looking at the computer, playing with the PlayStation or the video game or the Xbox or whatever. But there is something very important you didn't care about. I think maybe you forgot. You are not doing this intentionally or deliberately. You didn't care about training me to think in the mountains. And when we go to natural areas, you just play football with me. You ask me, look at that, look at this. You let us play group games. But you didn't ask me to sit down on the ground with my brothers and sisters and stare at the sea, or at the river, or at the sky, or at the sun, or at the birds and animals, the cats, the dogs, and tell me, look, my son, look for a while, be patient. Look at that cat. Oh, she is getting her food, and she's trying to feed her daughter or her son. You didn't tackle or knock this door. Why? Why, my father? Isn't it my right? It is actually the right of the child. So we have to confess that so many of us do not care about this aspect in a world where we are confused and we are busy all the time with the events that are happening every micro-minute, every femtosecond. Everything is changing. But in the same time, you have to have an outbreak, to have a break, and to have a shortcut, and go with me wherever we are, and say, please, stop this electric current and think about the nature. This is very important for every father to train his sons and his daughters to do this as if it is a daily exercise, or at least, to my mind, a weekly exercise. Not every one of us do this, and this is a wrong thing. Also, a very important issue. I'm blaming, or I'm asking my father or my mother, why didn't you train me to prioritize my issues, to prioritize or to timetable or to make time management for the duties and for the things that we have to do every day, because this is a very important training issue in our lives. Well, to answer how should parents do this and other things, let us go a break and come back to explain it in detail.
You are never alone. You are never alone.
All the prophets are brothers, and they represent the same message. What was the call of the prophet? What was his invitation? He was inviting to what? So the prophet said, "Oh Allah, grant your mercy on the one who is tolerant if he sails, on one who is tolerant if he buys, and one who is tolerant when he seeks his rights. Try to discipline them in the best way. Those daughters will be his shield. That means those will be the reason, the cause of his protection from hellfire. Because of what? Taking care of them. What you have in this life, no matter what you have, is less, and it is temporary.
The entire staff at Huda would like to wish you a wonderful and blessed Ramadan.
Never alone. You are never alone.
Welcome back again in our episode about Where Are You, Pa? This is the title of the episode. Is he lost? Is the father lost? By the way, let me tell you something. Parenthood or fatherhood or motherhood is not a person, a specific person by his body. It's a condition, it's a state. It's situation where a human being or non-human being is famous to have special touches, special tones, special performances. Whenever this person or whenever this condition comes beside me, he hugs me, he kisses me, he smiles at me, he looks to me with eyes of admiration. All the skills of the body language and even what he says or what he trains me is related to the skills of the condition of a father, the fatherhood condition. This is very important. Again, we were speaking, about the skill of prioritization or the skill of organizing time or the skill of time management. Should we as fathers or as parents train our sons or children to be careful about their time management? Of course, this is very important. And this is the question what some children might blame us at the future when they are saying, Papa, why didn't you train me to manage my time well? Why didn't you be careful about training me to put priorities? You know why I'm speaking about this now? Why specifically now? Why in this episode, the first episode in Ramadan? Because you have to train yourself in Ramadan to have first important things to be done first. And then comes the less important. And then comes the least important. The first thing important in this sacred month that we are waiting all the year, hopefully that we can reach it and we do not die before we reach Ramadan, is to be in a special condition with God. What I was saying in the last segment about the spiritual condition. Why didn't you tell me, Papa, that the most important Ramadan times is worship, for example, reciting Quran, speculating or pondering and looking at the skies, looking at the seas? Why didn't you train us to go to natural areas and look and think? Look and think. Before in Ramadan, letting me have time for computer, have me time to read and to study my homeworks, my schoolworks and school duties. It's important, I do not deny. But in Ramadan, it's not the first priority. The priority is this day, or in Ramadan, is to the spiritual, to the soul, not to the body. To the soul, not to the body. The prioritization training here is not for going to the market and buying the food and let me go with you to know the prices of things and to buy and to sell and things like this. This is important, I do not deny. But in Ramadan, you have to train your children to have a ceremony of sitting together daily, on daily basis, at least for half an hour, to discuss, to tell a story about the prophets, about Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Look, I'm not speaking from the religious aspect. I'm not speaking from the religious aspect of, or the religious point of view. I'm speaking to you from the psychological and the duties of a father, the psychological point of view. away from your religion. I'm not now speaking about Islam or Christianity or whatever. I'm speaking about the performance of a father in a sacred month in whatever religion. The father has to train his son to have time. First, to think about his God, to think about other creatures, to look at the universe, not all the time focused and putting his head down in his copybook and his computer or in the TV or in this, I don't want to say, very harsh, materialistic, high-tech life. Did you get it? So we have to, number one, train our children to manage their time and to have the priority for the spiritual, specifically in occasions like this. I remember one of the hadiths by Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, that says, what is the meaning? It says, every now and then there is an occasion for God. Okay? There is an occasion, days of God. It's called the days of God. And you have, every now and then, when these days come, you have to expose yourself. You have to expose yourself. It's not meaning that you take off your clothes. It's not the meaning. It means that you have to inhale this sacred and this very good and pure air of Ramadan, pure air of the feast, Al-Eid, to the pure air of any of the occasions sacred in your religion, like Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, for example. These days, or the day of the birth of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon, or whatever day, we have to teach our children to have some time to expose themselves to God, and not to be just, as I say, putting their heads down in copybooks or in TVs or in computers. Okay? Another important point, please, Papa, do not, or be fair with me and my brothers. It's the time to recommend this before we leave the month. Okay, we are in the first episode in the month, but I'm going every now and then, and every episode, I'm going to revise with you and recommend parents to be fair with their children. Fairness. Why, Papa, why, Mama, you are not fair with me? Why are differentiating between me and my brother? Why are not treating me the same as my sister? Why is this differentiation? Is she more beautiful than me? Is she more polite than me? Is she more organized than me? Okay, what I can do? This is my nature. I cannot change my nature. I'll try, but train me, help me. I was very sorry in my clinic when I met a mother that said to me, but she and her husband, they have told me that their child, the 6-year-old girl, was crying because she cannot focus as they want her to focus. And she said, well, Dad, I'm sorry, but I do not know what to do. Please help me. Okay, I'm at your service, but help me. What should I do? You know, this breaks the heart. This breaks the heart of anyone. How come you took your child and reached this very bad stage of parent-child psychodynamics or relation? You are poor. You are a poor father because you cannot include your child and let him reach this degree to cry and say, why? I remember this mother was a Christian one, and she was in my clinic with her husband. And I was very angry. I told him, how come? How come did you reach this stage with your child to let her cry and say, please help me? Because they are accusing her of not concentrating or focusing like her brother, the younger one. And remember, in another episode, the episode of the pitfalls, we said, never compare children together. Papa, please do not compare me with others, even my younger brother or my older brother. And if you compare me with the younger one, it's a scandal. This is unlogic. This is unlogic. To compare a child with another is unlogic. To compare him with another brother, this is very bad. And if you compare him with the younger brother, this is, I don't know what to say. It's a scandal. Another scandal, by the way, is, by the way, in the occasion of Ramadan, some children, without teaching by their fathers or parents, you find them going to their fathers. They wake up at Al-Fajr, at the dawn, and go to the room of the father, knock the door. They are still very young, about 6 or 7 years older, Alice, and they go and say, Papa, it's the dawn. Aren't you going to pray? Salat al-Fajr, the prayer of the dawn or the prayer of the Fajr. To my mind, it's a scandal. In spite of being the father and the caregiver and the model, the example for your child, you go to him and wake him up from his bed and tell him, hey, my kid, my lovely kid, go and let us clean ourselves to make wudu and to pray the dawn and go to the mosque, for example. He is the one who comes to you. Please, if you find this, number one, say thank God. Thank God. I'm thankful to you, God, because you gave me this lovely child. And learn a lesson. You have to be like your son. Like son, like father. You have to be like your son. We should say the opposite. We should tell the child to be like his father. But in this case, we say, please, fathers, be like your sons or your children. Papa, please, do not call me bad names. Unfortunately, it's very common. But in Ramadan, I'm very angry to hear a father that says, it's not a bad word. He says, well, you dumb, you are the child who is having weakness in learning, for example. Instead of saying, my engineer, my accountant, my scientist, my geometry specialist, you are saying to him, you, the lovely boy, the clown of the house. Clown of the house? It's an insult. It's an indirect insult. It's an involuntary or voluntary, I don't know. But if you say this intentionally, also, it's not a small mistake. It's a very big mistake by a parent. So please, my dear friends, be careful. Be careful, because this scratches, number one, it scratches the personalities of your children. It scratches the self-concept and self-esteem. And it makes a break between the relation between you and him. This is not an art of communication. And be sure, in spite of having your child smiling in your face, but from inside he thinks that you hate him, you are humiliating him. Papa, please, do not let me feel that I'm neglected. Neglection. Neglection, in the language of medicine or in the language of psychology, is one type of child abuse. You know, child abuse is having so many types. There is physical child abuse, there is sexual, and there is emotional abuse. But there is a very common, more common than all these types, is the type called abuse by neglection. Up to neglecting or forgetting to feed the child, some cases with nutritional problems or malnutrition, underweight, because the parents are not, or their mothers are extremely busy. I don't know in what, maybe in her job. She didn't put in her mind that the first priority for a mother, it's a responsibility. If you deliver a child, if you get a child, in this case, from now on, your responsibility, number one, is to be caring about this child, to give him his necessities, like feeding, drinking, if he is to be breastfed when he is infant, and to give him a shelter. And after this comes the very important thing, before your work and before everything, is the spiritual responsibilities. The spiritual responsibilities. You have to let him feel loved and cared of. You have to let him feel secure. You have to give him self-confidence all the time. This is your job, my dear. This is your job. It's not the job of the teacher. It's not the job of the coach or the trainer. It's not the job of the one who teaches him Quran. Maybe he will help you. But originally, the very beginning is with you. You are the mother. You are the source of self-confidence. Okay? Yeah, I'm giving you your job description. Write it after me. Another very important demand by children to their parents, Papa, please, do not quarrel around me. Do not contradict in the ideas. Maybe your ideas are contradicting, but let me be taught, or let me learn that the differences in the ideas or in the ways we tackle issues, it doesn't mean necessarily that we are going to be enemies. So please, do not quarrel around me. I all the time used to hear you shouting at your mother, at my mother, and maybe she is screaming at you. And sometimes I found you throwing things on each other. What's happening? What's going on? What's this great nervousness? This is a house. This is not the field of a war. And you are my parents. You are giving me a sense of security. This is not security. I don't feel secure. All the time I'm drowning in the sentences of threatening. I'll divorce you. I'll leave you. I'll go away from home. I'll leave you and the children, and let me see what you are going to do with them, how you are going to tackle or to feed them or to change for them. Why? Why I'm living in this threatened life? I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Please do not threaten each other in front of me. Do you know that this threatening and these quarrels make me feel insecure? And if the topic of the quarrel or the topic of this point of difference between you and my mother is about me or about the way you are raising me, this adds to me another very bad sensation. It's the sense of guilt. I feel guilty towards you. I'm the cause of this quarrel. And this might lead in the future to a psychological problem, to a complex. I might wet myself. I might have a psychological problem, as I say. I might stutter or stammer. I might be aggressive. Why? Why you are implanting me or immersing me in this this very bad type of soil or life? I don't deserve this. So many blames can be said by children nowadays to their parents. Again, going back to the idea of the time management, I can tell you, I can ask you, my father, why you are not spending enough time with me? Am I not that important? 1 hour per week? And if you spend this 1 hour, just you sit with me in front of the TV, looking at one of the episodes or the dramas, is that all what you can do? Can't you take me out in a regular way? For example, every Sunday, every Thursday, going to gardens, going to, as I said, to nature. Every day, you have some sort of a duty or a debt towards your children. Those who are working in jobs that compels them to be away from their families, for example, in the police or in the armies or in petroleum jobs and things like this, they have at least to be in contact by nowadays the mobiles, the cellular phones, the internet, any way of communication or contact between a parent and his child is going to be better than none. The one who appears on the screen and saying, "How are you, Ahmed? Where are you? I'm longing to see you." This is better than one who calls with the mobile. And the one who calls with the mobile, with a video call, is better than the one who calls him just by sound. And the one with sound is better than nothing. Okay? So it's your responsibility. Do not think that everyone is left to do what he wants without any punishment. The punishment is coming because you chose to marry, and you chose to build a family, and you chose to have a child. And to have a child, from now on, it's a responsibility. And this reminds me with the fetus or the baby inside the belly of his mother, who is going to blame his mother and say, "Mama, why you are not eating well? Mama, why you are not having milk and calcium Why are not having food in a proper way? I need. It's not the matter of you. Some young mothers, for the first time they have a child and the first time they are pregnant, and they neglect eating because she says, well, I'm not having an appetite, I want to do my job, I want to sit on my laptop and have the Facebook talks and things like this. And she's not caring about the food of the child, the baby. No, it's another soul. Remember, it's not your soul only. You are responsible for your soul, and God gave you this body to care about, but in this condition, you are responsible for another body inside you. It's your baby. And from now on, there is a new responsibility that you are going to start to care about. So please, give an answer. Give an answer to the question by the baby who says to his mother during pregnancy, Mama, why didn't you eat? Why you ate things that doctors said it's contraindicated during pregnancy? Why you ate, why you drink bad beverages like alcohols? Why? In order to make me having congenital anomalies? Why you took drugs in the first 3 months? Why you expose yourself to rays? Why you make quarrels with my mother when she is pregnant? This makes her hypertensive, and this draws out the blood from the uterus and from the placenta and might make me having some problem in the future in my brain. What's called in medicine hypoxia. Pregnancy is an occasion where a mother is starting to have the cornerstone of a human being. So she has to eat well, she has to drink well, she has to read Quran, she has to prepare herself in a spiritual good way, because she is going to have a present from God. These are the first steps or the first touches a mother or a father give to their children in order to build the future greatest creature in the world, which is the human being. It's very important. Again, back to the idea of the abuse, the corporeal or the physical punishment. As I've said before in one of the episodes, in some countries, especially the Western countries, they send one employee from the federal government and he knocks the door if there were complaints or reports from neighbors or someone around the corner saying that we hear every now and then a child screaming, shouting and saying, help me, do not hit me, Papa, do not spank me, Mama. So you find all of a sudden someone knocking the door and saying, well, I'm going to examine the whole family and I'm going to go in every place in the house because there is a complaint about you that you are abusing physically your child. Well, to continue our words about why or where are you, Papa, let's go a break and come back to continue our talk. Thank you.
You are never alone. You are never alone.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose whom He wills subhanahu wa ta'ala for His mercy, for His messengership, for the revelation to be revealed. This is not for the human beings to make that decision. If a person would turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, truthfully, asking for forgiveness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised to forgive. We have as Muslims a duty, and that is to recite the book of Allah, to ponder over the verses, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to act according to the Quran. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encompasses everything, but who would this mercy will be for? And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent to all mankind. So the ummah or the people of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam are all mankind since the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam till the day of judgment. Why waste our life without getting to know every verse in the Quran, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us?
The entire staff at Huda would like to wish you a wonderful and blessed Ramadan.
You are never alone. You are never alone.
Hello again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're speaking in this episode in Family Issues about where are you, Pa? This is the question that we should expect, that we should prepare ourselves, that we should ask ourselves. Where am I from my son? Am I the one who put him in a school and that's it? The one who puts him, who buys clothes to him? The one who feeds him, that's it? And by the way, the idea of feeding, we have an email from the last episode. Unfortunately, hopefully it's not late to answer it because it's about Ramadan and feeding. It's from Sister Fatumata Barrow. She is saying that, she says, I have a child who will turn to 2 years in June 23, 2011, and I want to stop breastfeeding him before Ramadan. But the problem is that he doesn't eat anything but noodles, so what's your advice? Thank you. Well, Sister Fatumata, well, I hope that you are not late to answer this question. Ramadan, by the way, is, I don't advise you to make this weaning issue and stopping the breastfeeding during Ramadan, because, you know, in Ramadan, there are so many occasions and things that we are busy in doing. So if you are not crowded by this, if you are not confused by this, so it's all right, go on. But remember that it's a gradual thing, and if you sit with yourself for a while on the table and have the elements or the types of sorts of food that your son actually can eat, like for example, in addition to what you have said, the noodles, okay, noodles, soup, and you can put in the soup some meat, and this meat can rinse or ooze some of the proteins inside. You can mince some small pieces of the meat itself in the soup or with the noodles for a chicken meat or beef, and he can eat it gradually. Train him. You can, as I said in one of the episodes, we were speaking about brain foods and the way we feed our children. By the way, all the time I repeat the idea of the brain foods. Be careful that you have to choose the sorts of food that your child takes, because some sorts are very important for making your child more intelligent, to build up what's called the brain building. As the body building, there's brain building, okay? And to remind you, just by the way, there are some types of foods that are very rich in the elements that form the bricks of the brain, the bricks of the nerve cells. These are, you know, the bricks are the omega-3 and the omega-6, beta-carotene, some types, other types of fatty acids. Not necessary to tell you the names, but to tell you the names of the sorts or the types of foods that you have to. For example, we have mentioned, surprisingly, popcorn. Popcorn, as we have said, is very important for children to wean on and to have for brains foods. The ful and falafel, this is very common in Egypt and in the Middle East. It's very, what's called the beans. It's very beneficial for the brain. They say that the yellow lentils are the brain combo, to remind you. The yellow lentils are the brain combo. It's full of iron, vitamins, multi-vitamins, everything inside the yellow lentils. And by mentioning the yellow color, by the way, it's very important to remember the sweet potatoes, the yellow ones, the yellow sweet potatoes, the yellow carrots, the yellow cantaloupe, the yellow pumpkins. Everything yellow is full of the material called beta-carotene, which is very important for brain maturation and for the short-term memory. They say that shrimps are full of also materials, specifically the zinc, which is very important for what's called the mood swings of our children. In addition to walnuts and to cashew, which is full also of omega-3 and omega-6. This were some types, and if you deliver them or present them in a very delicious way or artistic way, I mean the colors and the way you introduce it, the dish and the atmosphere, you are going to be an artistic parent and you are going to be a good parent, and the child is going to change and easily wean from the breastfeeding. So it's not the matter of the type of food, but it's the way you present the food. Let me come back now to our main issue to continue with, which is, where are you, Papa? Where are you, Papa? Where are you, Mama? You have to set a good example for your child. This is very important. Because some people, as you know, very commonly say, no, you cannot smoke. This is only for adults, bad adults. And you are smoking in front of the child, or in the balcony, or in the bed, the bathroom, or the child enters the room, whatever room, and he smells the smell of the smoke and the nicotine, which, you know, sticks on the walls and sticks on the clothes and sticks on the skin. You smell the child, you find him full of nicotine or full of this very bad or unhealthy smell. In the language of public health, this is pollution. This is indoor pollution by smoking. It's very, very harmful to the pregnant women, to the children. So you have to be to set a good model, to set a good example in front of your child, because when you ask me not to do something and I find you doing it every day, this is either you are making fun of me or you are not having credibility. And I'm not going to respect what you say from now on. So please, dear parents, when you try to give orders to children, before you give them, think about them. Think what you are saying and are you going to execute what you say, or you just give orders that you do not or you can't perform by yourself. This is, of course, silly, ridiculous. Again, we are, as you see, moving in the commonly done mistakes in life of a family, and on the tongue or by the tongue of your son or your child, we are saying, where are you, Papa, from this? Where are you from this? Those who are over-caring and over-loving, there is no word that says not loving. You can love your child as much as you can. You can express it by any means. But there are parents who are over-caring up to the degree, from exaggeration, that makes the child depending on you. He is like, an organ in the body connected to another organ. Like, for example, the stomach with the liver, for example. They cannot be separated. But this is unhealthy. Or this is not the normal. From just 5 or less minutes, we were answering the email. The mother says, I want to wean my child, but I cannot find the alternative. She has only one alternative. So when you try to wean someone from what he is addicting, whatever he is, or whatever is the addiction type he is doing, you have to give him alternatives before you mention the alternatives before you wean him from this habit or this addiction. So you have all the time to care about your child in giving him the right things at the right time. How come in this episode we do not speak about training our children about fasting from food? This is a very common question that's mentioned by so many of the Muslim, and sometimes in the Christian also, parents who are having their own times of fasting or their own ways of fasting. Of course, we know, it's very common, that parents do not let their children fast the whole day as adults from the very beginning. No, but at least you can use this Ramadan, okay, to train me not to eat, or not at least to drink, start by beverages, not drinking for about half an hour or 1 hour or more, as much as the child can, or as much as you think that your child can do, okay? and you are going to praise him for this, and you are going to reinforce him for this by giving him a reward. For example, you are a very good boy, you are, God loves you, you are a good person, you are a faithful boy, and God loves you, and all the prophets love you because you could be patient for 1 hour without eating, without drinking anything. Okay? You can detect your child in this situation when he didn't eat, for example, without even intentional action by the child. He forgot. He was playing, for example. He was doing something, watching the TV, and he forgot to eat for about 1 hour. In this case, you jump like a hunter and say, hey, you were patient and you didn't eat for about 1 hour or 2 hours or whatever. This means that you are a strong boy and you are a faithful boy. This is going to make him look as if he was surprised. What do you mean? It's I call it the upside down way of raising our children, because it's not all the time. You are not supposed all the time to raise your child in the routine way. You have to do and do not, and this is good and this is bad. You can detect your child without doing something and tell him, you are not doing that thing, that bad thing, you are a good boy. This is called, in the science of behavioral modification, the negative reinforcement. The negative reinforcement, which is a very important rule in behavioral modification. I think that the issues, these were some of the examples of the faults commonly done by parents, but I think that time is out of our hands, getting rapidly. Ramadan, every Ramadan, I hope that you are happy, and I think this is a good start for the other episodes, inshallah, in Ramadan. Happy Ramadan. Thank you from Family Issues. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You are never alone. You are never alone. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone. So now, as you long for your past, prepare for your future, but knowing nothing's gonna last. You see, this life is but a road, a straight and narrow path to our final abode. So travel well, O Muslim, and paradise will be your home. And always remember that you are never alone.